What's up, everybody? Dr. Casual here. Today, we will be starting my first YouTube series called The Vital Check, where I'll be playing new and upcoming games, talking about their overall gameplay, impressions, showing some of the gameplay, and then rating them on a scale of 1 to 10. First up is going to be The Precinct. Comes out May 13th, 2025. And imagine LA Nora had a baby with Miami Vice and then raised it on nothing but VHS tapes of 80s cop shows. That's The Precinct in a nutshell. And yeah, that's a compliment. Today, we're diving into my first impressions after playing the demo. We'll talk gameplay, visuals, and the world of Reno. And the story potential this title's packing is a lot. One of the first things I noticed when I was playing this game was that it oozes atmosphere. From the neon glow bouncing off rain-soaked streets to the crumbling edges of the sidewalks and the cracks and the dirt appearance of the roads and alleyways, the precinct really nails the East Coast grittiness. It's like Miami Vice took a detour through Gotham City, and it looks great. It's got that top-down, drawn-back perspective that reminds you of the old GTA games, you know, before GTA 3 went full 3D. And that throwback style really works here. But it's not clunky or stiff, which I was expecting it to be to a degree. And they surprised me with how smooth and intuitive everything was. And the perspective actually adds kind of a cinematic distance. Like you're watching a gritty cop drama unfold from the director's chair. In the city of Averno, it's grimy, unpredictable, and weirdly alive. In the short demo, I noticed that almost everybody and everything I walked up to had a interaction option, really adding to how immersive and reactive the world could be. And it kind of made me feel like I would be walking around with street vendors arguing and taxi drivers losing their minds over double parked cars. And I hope the whole world is like that when I go into the full release. Time will tell, but I have high hopes. Now, let's talk mechanics, because this is where I was most surprised. The moment I started a foot chase and had to make a split second call on whether to pull a taser or tackle the guy, I knew I was a fan. The combat is simple, but it's not boring. It's smooth, responsive, and honestly, fun. I didn't expect a top-down game to make shootouts feel this tense, but the Precinct nails the pacing and makes me want more, which as a cop, I probably shouldn't want to get in more shootouts, but it's fun in the game. Driving is tight, arcade style, but you're not drifting like in Need for Speed. It's responsive. I was chasing a van full of robbers through alleyways, crashing into trash cans and street posts, ran a few NPCs over. I hate to admit it, but it also told me that the environment was at least semi-destructible, and that made the whole thing feel chaotic in the best way possible. And get this, they throw you into a helicopter chase in the demo. I thought that'd be clunky, but flying was actually very intuitive, and you still felt the weight of possibly crashing into a building, which I did, sadly, and that adds tension. It adds a aspect that I wasn't expecting for flying in a top-down game. And then they also have real-time patrol work. This game doesn't just give you missions. It lets you be a cop. You'll get procedurally generated crimes like graffiti artists mid tag or people flagged with a warrant, stolen cars, and drug dealers, gangs, you name it. And of course, they have the minor stuff like speeding and parking tickets, but it almost felt more like a patrol simulator mixed with a sandbox, and I kind of dug it. It was a fresh take. So, naturally, for any game, especially one in this category, I would say that story and immersion is important. So, here's what I thought. It was nice that the story doesn't overload you with exposition, it just eases you in enough to start forming questions. There seems to already be a little bit of tension in the precinct, and as the player, I got the sense that Nick, our rookie cop, is going to eventually dig deeper into his father's murder, or at least uncover details the department's been hiding about his death, because his father is like praised in the precinct because his father was a police officer. And beyond that, there are multiple gangs, each with their own unique style and goals. You're not just facing generic bad guys, you're facing factions with their own motives, and that creates some real narrative potential. Could we see shifting gang influence in different parts of the city, or inter gang alliances? Not sure, but it's what I'm really hoping for, and look forward to finding out in a couple of days. One feature I didn't expect to care about, but loved, the officer's handbook. It's full of actual protocols, like what to do for traffic stops, when you can use certain levels of force, how to respond to stolen vehicle calls, and more. It wasn't just flavor text like many other police games. It was actually stuff you'll use, and it added a little bit of realism without feeling like a tutorial dump. So let's move on to the pros and cons of the precinct. In my eyes, they have more pros than cons, which is refreshing for the 2025 game market. Their biggest win, combat. I was worried about it, kind of skeptical, and after playing the game, I realized how fun, satisfying, and tight the combat was. It was overall engaging, and it never felt like a chore or like a hassle. If anything, it made me want more. It was kind of addictive. And then you get into their movement. That smelled smooth across the board. Walking, driving, flying, they all felt polished. And I would hope so, because in top down games, when you have bad movement systems, the game becomes unenjoyable. But the Precinct, their developers did a great job at figuring out the movement and everything, so round of applause. Story progression. Although it was just the demo, it felt natural, not forced or overscripted, and I'm hoping that carries through from start to end. Because if it does, that will be, I think, a great storyline. Then we also need to talk about lighting and visuals. My opinion, they're gorgeous. And the way the night changes Averno is crazy. Because at nighttime, the city with the neon lights and all the grit, it really changes its personality compared to daytime. And I personally loved the nighttime. It just felt so much more gritty and alive. Their last pro, a procedural crime system. It's a massive one. It keeps things from getting stale fast, which is common in a lot of police games. And at the same time, it could potentially be their number one con. So that's why that is at the last of the pros. But with their procedural crime system, you can go from breaking up a gang shootout to chasing down a dude for a warrant in the same shift. It's wild, but it should work. No new games are ever perfect, and the Precinct does have a few things that, in my opinion, needs to be polished. So the cons. And let's keep it real. The loop could get repetitive if the full game doesn't mix things up enough. And I hope these random events from the procedurally generated crimes stay varied. Otherwise, I fear that they'll have the same issue that any other police game does, and that's running out of content outside the missions. And it would really suck to see that because of how immersive this city feels. And then the next two, not really cons, but if you're somebody who likes immersion like myself, they kind of are. Um, After making an arrest, I wish I had to stay with the suspect while waiting for the transportation rather than just having the option to walk off and just let them stand there by themselves handcuffed. I think waiting there and waiting for like the people to come and maybe have to interact with like a crowd or something along that lines would have added to the immersion. And the last small gripe is no turn signals or cruise control when you're just in your patrol car. Not groundbreaking by any means, it's just little touches that could go a long ways. And in all honesty, after the demo, not having any true negatives except for one is pretty impressive. At the end of the day, is the precinct worth getting on May 13th, 2025? Definitely. It might not be the biggest release of the year, but that's okay. It's doing something unique, blending action, roleplay, and nostalgia into a gritty neon cop sandbox. It's not trying to be a blockbuster, it's trying to be its own unique world. And from what I've played, that world has a ton of potential. Between the gang politics, sandbox crimes, and storytelling pace, there's a lot here that can make the game something special. The Precinct is a surprisingly polished and atmospheric sandbox that captures the spirit of 80s cop dramas through good storytelling, immersive visuals, and snappy combat. Its procedural crimes, multiple gangs, and unique top down design make patrolling Averno genuinely compelling. While there's a risk of repetition in the long run, the demo shows a strong foundation for something special. Overall, I would have to give The Precinct an 8 out of 10. So, if this game was on your radar, or it is now, let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts? What would you like to see added or expanded on in the full version? Smash that like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, sub if you want more first impression reviews, and hey, I'll see you next patrol. This is Dr. Casual, signing out.